Hello everyone, my name is Helle and I'm the vocalist of Ukrainian metal band IGNEA. Hey everyone, I'm very glad that I hope that people will be popping up here in some seconds. And what can I say? I'm the vocalist of Ukrainian metal band IGNEA. We play, it's always hard to say what we play because we mix a lot of genres. And but I'd say that the closest is maybe melodic death metal, but with some Middle Eastern elements, with some symphonic elements. So all of our songs are very different. So I always say that it's better to check them all to have the full picture, because it's hard to judge us by one song only.
Yeah, what I would say myself, like in my library, it's for me, I think IGNEA is always everything, but I think there are some folk elements as well, correct?
Like Middle Eastern folk elements, yeah, Oriental, yeah.
Oh, so you just brought, well, in April, 10 new albums, The Realms of Fire and Death, and it's like a concept album and so on. Can you tell us a bit more about the album and who didn't know the band?
Well, it's like you said, it is a concept album, and it's the first concept album that we did. And basically, everything is in its title, because it is about fire and death. And this album is split into 3 sections. So basically, we have 3 main stories that are somehow related to fire and death, but all of them like are different, but they are under the same concept. Also, I wrote a book of short tales that also go along with this album, so that if you want to understand better what is really happening in the songs, you can check out the book. And it's available in printed version in our store, and also in digital version on our Patreon. And musically, it's a very diverse album, because we have like usual melodic death songs, symphonic metal, we have an acoustic ballad, we have a blackened death metal song. So it's very diverse. There is also like a song in Ukrainian on this album, and also a song in Faroese, which is actually a cover that we made. So, I mean, it's really like a book of different tales and an album of different genres. That's
so for some people who didn't see it, so some imagination. So this is the album we'll post later, the links. Oh yeah, this is the new stuff.
Good. So Helle, what is the meaning? There's any meaning behind the name IGNEA?
Yeah, it means.
I don't know if I pronounce okay.
Yeah, it's IGNEA. Well, it's closer to Latin, and it's like Ignea, but you know, when you're speaking English, almost everyone says Ignea, and it means like flaming or burning. So it's directly related to fire, and that's why also it was one of the reasons why we made this album about fire and death. So I mean, it's a bit related to our name, and I've been always very captivated by fire. I also did fire show for some time, just for fun. And I love burning candles and incense sticks and everything. So I mean,
you like fire in general?
yeah. Well, not only fire, I also love water, but I mean, fire is something that inspires me a lot.
Cool. So did you put like fire in your mouth and you like spew it?
Sorry, what?
Did you like spew like fire as a dragon, because there are some booze you drink?
No, I didn't, and it was also like one of the reasons, because I was singing already back then, and I thought that it could be, you know, not good for your vocal cords, and like in general, it's, you know, quite dangerous thing to do. But I did, like, I don't know how to say it in English. I did the rest of the stuff, like you call it poi, I guess, and you just, I don't know, do something with fire and everything. It's some figures. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. That's like the basic fire show stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So now if we zoom into your voice, it captures different style from if you listen to it. And like you mentioned itself, there are some folk, symphonic, death, and so on. And you are capturing everything with your voice. So I'm wondering why the decision to do it all by yourself and not have just a second singer.
Well, actually, when we started and we had like the first EP, which is Sputnik, the growls were made by our keyboardist, Evgeny. But actually, back then, I was only starting to learn these extreme vocals. And I don't know, it was really interesting for me to do it. And slowly I learned it. And I must say that also when I look back at our previous album, The Sign of Face, was the first time when I recorded extreme vocals in the studio. Now I understand that back then I wasn't doing them properly 100%. I mean, I was pretty tired quickly when I was recording them. My voice was going down. So in general, like I'm satisfied with the result, but like during the recording, it was not as smooth, and I made a big progress, like in terms of myself, to the last album, because on the last album it was like very smooth, very easy for me, and I was not thinking about my voice. I was thinking about the songs, and I also know that a lot of people ask me how I transition from clean vocals to growls so easily. But for me, this is actually the easiest part to do because it's like a tumbler, inside my voice. But the hardest thing is to growl for a long time, to make it sustainable. And for example, on the last album, we have a black and death metal song that is pure growls, all the song, and it's very small space to breathe in, So this is the hardest part, to be able to jump on stage and, growl it all.
Yeah, I imagine that. But if you read, I think death metal vocalist women are the ones who are cut in, throat surgery and so on because of the difficulties and so on. So it's quite impressive.
I must say that, like, I've over the past year, I've been learning a lot, like about how the sound is produced in the voice and all the things. And I can say that it doesn't matter whether you're doing extreme vocals or clean vocals, because there are a lot of singers, even pop singers, who don't do extreme vocals at all, and they had surgeries because usually it happens even not because you're using your voice in the wrong way, but because you don't give your voice any rest. And all this excessive touring, it usually brings like your voice is slowly dying out, and then your false chords, they dry out, and then you need to do surgery, and then you have to keep silence for 1 month.
That's very interesting point. Like I never knew that the pop artist had surgery.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you can see, I don't know, you can Google it, that sometimes they even cancel, stadium shows because of that, and then they need all this time to recover.
Okay.
Interesting.
Very interesting, yeah. So Helle, as you spoke about, mentioned about Sputnik. Sputnik is like an artificial satellite. So how you came up with this idea about the space?
Again, it was our keyboardist who came up with this idea. And but it, like our first album, it was a bit, the first EP, it was done without any intention and without any serious purpose, because we didn't see ourselves as serious musicians back then, and it was just more for fun and it's like the next step for you after your basement, after you play just with each other. But back then, we also were very, like the keyboardist and me, we were very inspired by everything related to space and to traveling in space, to life on Mars. It was also this movie John Carter that was out back at the time. So I mean, like, we were just, you know, maybe Elon Musk wasn't popular at that moment, but we were like everything space related. And this is how actually everything came out. And so Sputnik is actually the song about the first Soviet Sputnik that was launched in 1957. And that's it. But what's interesting is that Sputnik is actually the first song on that EP. So we can say that this is our oldest song, but we still play it on live shows because it's very easy to, you know, to understand, and the crowd is always marching and headbanging because it's like it has this industrial metal rhythm, and it's very easy because a lot of songs that we have, they have this progressive metal touch, and sometimes we're just performing and people are just standing and listening because it's hard for them to do something along with these songs because they don't understand what's happening, and there are a lot of arrangements and they're just standing and listening. So Sputnik is just another story. I mean, everyone is having fun. Yeah.
I never listened to Sputnik, to be quite honest. I have no idea what the songs are about. I think one day I need to do it, but it's like the oldest one.
Yeah, so you said about the space. So you like space, like movies, space movies?
Yes, yeah. I love you have to understand, like everything that is done with IGNEA in terms of music and lyrics, it's like both me and our keyboardist. So sometimes like one of us brings something to the table, and then we got, you know, we dive into everything. And yeah, we both love science fiction and space, and we follow all the technologies. But like in my case, I'm like always balancing on some, you know, old stuff, like maybe historical things and ancient things, maybe some spiritual things, and modern technology as well. So for me, I'm okay balancing both of this stuff. So I cannot say that I'm fully, you know, about technology. I'm about some, you know, nature as well. So maybe some mystical stuff. So for me, it's like both sides.
Interesting. So back to focus, and now a little bit of lyrics. So I'm wondering, if you look at IGNEA and if you look at the lyrics, it's like a dynamic between a brutal approach and a fairy tale one. So I'm wondering, how do you make the decision which gets a brutal approach and the other one a fairy tale?
You mean which parts are growled and which parts are clean vocals?
Yeah, in that way.
I guess it's not really related to lyrics because usually you hear the music to make like brutal parts or fairy tale parts, and I guess that first we have music, then we decide like where the lyrics will be placed, and then we think about. I try to think how is it better to do it, like with growls or clean vocals. And then I just write lyrics, and usually it's very, you know, it's a process like from my heart, not from my mind. So I just write what's coming into my mind, but usually I need to get some inspiration from something before that, and then it's just like I just start writing, and that's it. So usually like it's firstly we decide whether it's going to be growls or clean vocals, and also it's important for us because sometimes the things that you write, the words that you write, it's not very easy to growl them, or the rhythm is not good. and vice versa. So that's why it's better to decide first whether it's going to be growls or clean vocals.
And so to recap, the start point are the instruments. First you build like the rhythm and so on.
Yeah, so first of all, like Evgeny comes with an instrumental song, and then like maybe sometimes he even has an idea about what song this is going to be about, or I come up with this idea, and then it's just like putting vocals on top. So music comes first and lyrics come the very last point.
Interesting, like to see that the lyrics are in the end.
Yeah. Good stuff. So when you start to sing, Helle?
Oh, it's a very hard question, because like I remember that when I was a child, like 3 years old, I was already singing, but like these were just, you know, childish songs. But I remember that I always could, even when I was going to like kindergarten, I was always very remembering all the songs. So for me, it was always easy. And I remembered my songs, the songs of other kids. So it was like, then for a very, very long time, I wanted to actually play piano, but my parents were like, they didn't want me to become, you know, a musician, because really, like in our country, for example, musicians, they are mostly like poor people, or people back then who were dealing, you know, with drugs and alcohol. So all this like rock and roll approach.
Yeah.
And my parents were very, you know, caregiving, and they were giving me a lot of education, but they didn't want me to go into music. But then finally, when I was 14, I was like, come on, I want it. But then they said, okay, please choose between the guitar and, I guess it was a violin or a flute. And I said, why? But they said that the piano is loud. It takes too much space, like in the apartment. And, you know, it's a lot of complicated stuff. And also piano, you need to study it longer. So all in all, like I started learning classical guitar. And then because I learned it, I also, you know, whenever we had some meetings with friends, I was playing and people asked me to sing along. And that's it. And gradually I just transitioned like from guitar to vocals. But then I just remember when we first started playing with IGNEA live, I was singing so badly, and partly because I didn't have like in-ear monitors, and I really didn't hear anything that is happening on stage. I didn't hear the tune. I mean, we were very childish, like this approach. I don't know if there was anybody back then just to tell us, don't do this, do this. We would be like skyrocketing our development as a band, but it didn't happen like that. And we cannot do anything about this. So I guess that I really learned to sing after our first proper tour in Europe, which was actually only a couple of years ago. Because you can also be a good singer like in the studio or at home, or maybe like at a very small show, but you start learning to sing only when you were singing, I don't know, 5 evenings every day.
Yeah.
Because only then you learn like this sustainability, and I don't know, you become physically fit, because your voice is really a muscle. You have to practice, but practicing only at home, if you want to be a touring musician, it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, but then I took some lessons from vocal coaches, and I have a really great vocal coach here in Ukraine. Like we don't do lessons regularly, but like once a year I have like some weeks of practicing with him. And so he gave me a lot of knowledge. And I mean, usually all our lessons, he gives me so much knowledge that I need some time to process it, you know. So something like that. So for me, it's very hard to say when I started singing, but what I can also say that I have so much to learn. And I really am, I'm very bad at discipline when it comes to singing, and this is what I really lack, and this is what every singer should do, because whenever you're not singing for 1 week, like your range comes from this too.
Okay. And nowadays, because of the COVID and stuff, you practicing a lot, I think, because you have time.
For us, it was interesting because, like, the very beginning of the pandemic, it coincided with the release of our album, and because, like, I'm doing most of the management and the promotion in our band, I guess that I wasn't singing for 2 months or something like that, because, like, I was sitting at my laptop all the time. I was packing merch. I was like doing interviews and all the things. And we also made, like, you know, it was a lockdown, so we didn't rehearse with the band. We didn't see each other. But then, like, when it started opening up, we got back to our rehearsals. So at least we rehearse every week. And also because I have a Patreon page that is very active, and people request me to do some song covers, and I also did some live streams with me playing the guitar. So I mean, these things really save my voice and my discipline, because at least I'm doing something, you know. But also I'm facing such a problem, like I'm living, you know, in Ukraine. People normally don't live in houses, so we have like huge buildings with many floors and many apartments. So I live in a small apartment, and the sound isolation is not very good here. So for me, it's very hard to growl at home because I guess that all my neighbors will come here and say that I'm killing someone here. So that's why, like, right now, what I'm trying to do, I try to find some space in my apartment and make it soundproof. And another solution would be, like, also, the problem is, like, it's a small apartment and I've got a lot of merch everywhere here. And I'm also a freelancer, so I'm working at home as well. So it's really a mess usually. That's why I'm thinking that maybe I will find a small space to rent out, simply to make like this vocal booth, and maybe to keep the merch there. Because, like, you know, the band is growing year by year, and everything is getting bigger. And if earlier we had, you know, one type of t-shirts or maybe one CD, now we have like 3 types of t-shirts, hoodies, beanies, CDs with 3 albums, and a lot of other things. And it's like, it's getting insane a little bit. So I mean, that's why I hope that I'll be able maybe to rent a small space, soundproof it, and actually have a space to practice vocals. Because if you're not practicing them at your like full voice, then it also doesn't make any sense, because then you come to a show and you burn out just after one concert.
Yeah, your muscles like are not getting used to the routine and so on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and well, you mentioned a few times the guitar and so on. So I am wondering, can you show us your guitar?
Right now, not because it's not with me here. But I don't know, I can post a couple of photos under the live stream a bit.
So, yeah, I saw that. That was interesting. But in that case, can you tell us something more about the guitar? You have a classical one?
Yeah, so I have actually right now I have 2 guitars. One of them is classical Yamaha guitar, which actually it is the guitar that I started learning to play with. So it's, I don't know, it's quite old, but it's very good. And another guitar is actually an acoustic PRS guitar that one of our listeners, he works at the PRS factory in the United States. And he was visiting Ukraine once, and he just wrote me if I wanted a guitar. And I found out that, you know, at their factory, there are sometimes guitars that are supposed to be destroyed because of some bug, a small bug that they're having in their sound. So they basically, this guitar was supposed to be crashed against the wall. So I was like, yeah, of course, bring it to me. And I thought it was a joke, but he really brought the guitar and I use it a lot. And I really don't hear any problems with this guitar. That's why I really don't know why it was supposed to be crashed. And I really am grateful that I have it right now. And I guess that when I was more of a guitarist, I also had an electric guitar and it was an Epiphone Gothic edition. But I also, like back then, I started working in IT a lot, and I mean, like until now I spend about 10 hours a day, like sitting at my laptop and typing, and usually it's not good for your wrists. And that's why like gradually my guitar performance was worse and worse, and I also started singing more. So I don't know, at some point I just sold this Epiphone and that's it. So it was just, you know, standing in the corner, and I thought that it would be better for this guitar to be, you know, used properly.
But you have the classical one, so I'm wondering, will there be any acoustic set, or you're not yet good with the guitar?
I'm good at, you know, just singing and playing, but like I mostly use it for the Patreon purpose because, as said, like I'm doing a lot of song covers there. I sometimes write like my original songs, and I always use this guitar because like it's my instrument, and I can play keyboards a little bit, but it's only like, you know, chords, maybe to accompany me when I'm singing as well. So I'm bad at it. And that's why I don't think that we're going to release like an acoustic album anytime soon, because I don't know, it's just not our stuff. But I actually made some IGNEA songs like in acoustics for the Patreon. I played them. I played Alga and the new song What For, and Theater of Denial. So these were 3 songs that I actually played with guitar, like for the patrons.
Very interesting to hear, and yeah, it's like interesting that you are doing like Patreon. It's something else, like.
So in the Patreon, to ask is like people they can donate.
It's like a platform where they can subscribe. It's like a subscription platform, just like you're watching Netflix, for example. Okay. But in case of Patreon, you're directly supporting an artist. And there are a lot of different subscription plans. So it starts from $2 per month, like in my case, because you are a creator, you set up all these tiers and all the subscription plans. So in my case, it's like $2 to $50 per month, and people choose what they are ready to donate, so to say. But in return, it's not like a simple donation, because in return they get a lot of content. And I mean, I created Patreon back in 2018, at the end of 2018. So for example, if you join Patreon right now, you will access like more than 100 posts, which is actually a lot of content. You can binge watch it, and it's still relevant because these are like, you know, some making ofs of our videos with IGNEA, some tour vlogs, maybe some live streams, some personal creations. So it's like a lot to do. And I post there every week, so I'm really committed to Patreon. And since this month, I actually dropped my last freelance, and I'm only occupied with Patreon and IGNEA right now. So I really consider it like as my part-time job, because it takes quite a long time, you know, to respond to all the commands, to prepare all the content. So it takes a lot of time and dedication. And I know that there are like with this pandemic, a lot of other musicians and metal musicians started Patreon. So I'm very glad that this culture is, you know, is growing, because people, like, the more artists launch Patreon, the more people will understand what it is, and the less questions there will be, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, for me, like the Patreon concept was a little bit lost because the pandemic started, and then the first thing I heard was Patreon, and I thought it was like a pandemic solution for livelihood. But what you tell now, it's something more. It's like a story that you have been writing since 2018, like, and so on. So it's like something that you continue in the future, which is like very interesting to join and so on such Patreon site.
You just have to understand, like, the latest album that we released, The Realms of Fire and Death, it was 100% crowdfunded through Patreon. So
yeah, I read it. It's
yeah, when I launched Patreon, like, for in the first place, I did it for myself and to post some, you know, poems or things that are not very related to IGNEA. But then in just 1 or 2 months, I just thought that why not do it, like, you know, half my creations, half IGNEA. And I just wrote everywhere that, like, all the funds will be used to fund our next album. And people were very supportive, and I was mind blown by their support. And actually, like, in the end, we managed to record an album, to make, like, all the designs, to shoot 2 music videos, and it was all crowdfunded through Patreon.
yeah, and then in the end of a video, I forgot which one, but at the end of one video, I think there were all patron names who contributed to the album and so on.
Yeah. So if you take, like, the album booklet, there is, like, a list of patrons who were contributing to this album, and we also made the list of patrons in the end of our Jinnslammer video. There's also, and it is a longer list, because I mean, people who are included in the booklet, these are all people who were, like, contributing, like, from the very beginning until the, you know, the production of the CDs, because after that I wouldn't be able to include the rest of the patrons.
Yeah.
But we also have on our website, we have something like a wall of fame, and we have all the names of all the patrons that have ever contributed to IGNEA, even if it was like $1 one time. Because I always say that, I mean, people are very, people have different financial situations, and I totally understand it. And now it's also a bit harder, because there are a lot of Patreon pages of, you know, people's favorite bands, and they want to support them all, and then they end up with a, you know, a paycheck or something like that. That's why I always say to people that don't try to push yourself, and you can even make, you know, you can support one band in 1 month and then another band in another month. Everything is super flexible. You can always upgrade or downgrade your subscription plan. So, I mean, you just have to understand that all of us, all the bands, we value every contribution. It doesn't matter how much you do it. It's just, it helps a lot.
Of course, nowadays also helps a lot.
Yes, yeah.
These COVID days. So, Helle, I have read, you know, when I was checking your story, I have read that November 16, you have changed your name from Parallax.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah. So I would like to ask, the lineup of the band was the same, or people changed? So when you moved from Parallax to IGNEA?
You just have to understand that we changed this name not because of the lineup, simply because we released our first EP, and then we were just about to release Alga and our first full-length album. And we just started feeling that it's going to be a bit more serious. And like I have a marketing background, and I understood that it's going to be very hard to promote the band, because back in the days I could Google like 60 bands called Parallax, and some of them were even like related to metal and rock scene. So it was like, it was meaningless, and also like the music was the new music was a bit different. And I guess that the name Parallax, which is like more, you know, tech related and scientific, it was very suitable for Sputnik.
Yeah.
But it was not suitable for the music that was coming up, and that's why it was a perfect moment for us to change the name, because actually like we gained the first fan base that we gained, it was with Alga and this video. So I guess it would be too hard for us to rebrand after, you know, the video of Alga. And as for the lineup, like when we recorded Sputnik, we actually didn't have a drummer at all. And we were even performing live with just, you know, samples, drum samples. We had another guitarist that actually left the band even before recording Sputnik. And then we had two new guitarists coming up, and one of them also left after Alga. And since then, we had the same lineup.
So Parallax was the same, like a kind of music?
Well, you can just hear it like on our first EP, Sputnik.
Oh, okay.
But it's like it's the same band, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. So, about the Middle Eastern toads. So, I'm wondering, how did you get an idea to get some Middle Eastern like vibes into the music, and do you use any specific instruments?
Like all our music is written by our keyboardist Evgeny, and he just likes these Middle Eastern melodies, and we don't have like any Middle Eastern backgrounds, none of us in the band.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we just love these melodies, and he is very captivated like by these how to say, they have very specific things like when it comes to melodies in the Middle Eastern music. So he always says that, and I agree, that sometimes when you listen to this music, you cannot really say if it's joyful or sad, because it has an absolutely, if it's major or minor, you know, it's had a very different vibe, and everybody hears it differently. And it really brings something special like to this music. And also, I must say that, you know, there are a lot of bands in Europe, for example, are playing Scandinavian metal or something like that. You know, when it comes to folk metal, people always think about, you know, Celtic or Scandinavian, like Viking or something like that. And actually, nobody asks bands, for example, I don't know, in Spain, why they play Celtic metal or something like that. It's just, it's normal things. And Middle Eastern is something not that popular, but at the same time, like I cannot say that we are 100% Middle Eastern metal band, because it's like it's only some elements in some of our songs. Some songs are fully Oriental, some songs are absolutely not Oriental metal, and it's just we experiment a lot, and that's why, I don't know. This is just how it is. And I personally, I'm a fan of Scandinavian culture, and I really feel that I was born in a wrong country, because I love when it's cold. I learn Norwegian language and all the things. But like I said, like at the beginning, I'm absolutely great at the balance between like nature and technology. And I feel absolutely great in the balance between like North and maybe East, Middle East. It's like not a problem for me. And also like on the latest album, we had this cover of the Faroese artist Ivor, and I sang in Faroese. What is interesting about this song, like the Faroe Islands are absolutely in the North So it's like, you know, absolutely Scandinavian culture and language and everything like that. But when I heard this song, Uitokune, it had, you know, it's like a mixture of Northern and Middle Eastern tunes. I don't know how to explain it, but you can relate it to both cultures. And Yevgeny heard this song as well, and we just thought at the same time that we should cover this song, because it's like, I guess that it's like the perfect mixture even for me as well, because I feel like both like Northern and Middle Eastern vibes in this song. And because like the language is very, you know, all the Northern languages are very archaic, and you can feel it like when you pronounce it. So I had a lot of excitement when recording and covering this song.
It was Aitokoni, right?
Uitokune, yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult. So when we are already speaking about this, we had a question for this. We found it very interesting because I was like, well, it's not Ukrainian, it's not English, it's Faro, Denmark. So I was wondering, was it difficult to sing in a language that you don't master yourself?
For me, like, what was the difficulty? I am in the process of learning Norwegian, but it's like only just for me, for fun. And this language, like this Faroese language, is similar in some ways to Norwegian. And when I read it, like when I see the letters, I can understand some things, but they are pronounced absolutely different, absolutely. And the huge problem that I had, that whenever I was looking at the lyrics, I was trying to pronounce it in Norwegian, and it was absolutely different. And that was the main problem. But then I thought that I just should listen how it sounds. And, you know, another problem, you know, whenever you're trying to pronounce anything, you can just go to Google Translate and, you know, press like this loudspeaker and hear it. But there is no Faroese language out there. So I just had to listen to this song and 100% and try to hear what actually she is singing. And I watched the videos of her singing this song. So I guess that in the end, of course, it didn't sound like a native speaker, but I also think that it sounds pretty decent. And I love languages, and I just sometimes I learn them for fun. So it's like reading a book or playing video games. So for me, it was something like that.
It must be hard to just put one song on replay to make like sense out of it.
I don't know. I guess that what I was trying, you know, I went word by word or phrase by phrase, because it was really important. Like this language, Norwegian is also very hard to read. It's probably the hardest part, because actually like Norwegian is like, for me, is a mixture of German and English, and I speak both German and English. So like I understand a lot of things, but when I'm trying to pronounce them, it's absolutely different. So once I learned how to read Norwegian and to pronounce it, it became so much easier. But like, as I said, the Faroese language is like, sounds totally different.
But for me, like the cover, it's like well done. Like I don't see any weird stuff. I like the songs. I think like for non-native speakers, it's like perfect. Like really good. Well done.
Thank you.
So how many languages you speak, Helle?
So like my mother tongues are Ukrainian and Russian, just because like I was born in 1991, just when the Soviet Union fell apart, and I live in the capital, like in Kiev, and everybody here speaks both Ukrainian and Russian. Mm-hmm. We have dreams in Ukrainian and Russian and all the things. Then I speak English, obviously. German is like upper intermediate, and Norwegian is beginner level. That's it for now.
Very interesting. To speak Norwegian is very, I think, yeah, as you said, it's very difficult. I would like to learn Finnish.
Mm. Yeah,
English.
I was. I failed at it. I mean, I started learning it also just out of pure interest, but it's so complicated. It's incredibly complicated. Like
Yes.
their grammar, it's I don't know, but you know, I have a lot of plans. Like when I retire, I will be learning a lot of languages. It's like I won't be a grandmother who will be sitting and knitting. I will be, I don't know, I will be traveling and learning languages. I
It's
hope
like,
by the time the borders will be open again.
yes. It's like you sing in Finnish, they have this big, like, kiitos, they have long O, A.
Yeah. But again, like I guess that the pronunciation in Finnish is not the main problem, but like their language doesn't sound like any other language. So they have their own group of languages and they have a very complicated grammar. So for example, as I said, when I'm learning Norwegian, it's simply a mixture of German and English. So for example, if you know German, for you, it's going to be quite easy to learn Norwegian. And if you know Norwegian, then you can understand Swedish, Danish, you know. But
Scandinavian.
it's like.
So you can learn Greek after.
I don't know. I mean, you have different letters, so it's going to be much more complicated. But actually, when it comes to Finnish, I didn't record a song in Finnish language, but I sang the song of Nightwish, Taikatalvi. They have like this Finnish song, a very beautiful lullaby, I guess.
I know.
I sing it.
I know the song. So you did the cover of this song?
I don't remember. Maybe it's also on Patreon, maybe not. But I mean, I can sing it. I guess I should do this cover at some point.
Interesting. Soon there will be covers like in German, Norway, and Finnish maybe someday.
Maybe.
Very nice, very nice. So let's go back to the album and how was to collaborate with Yossi from Orphan Land?
Well, I have to say that Orphan Land was one of the greatest inspirations, like for Yevgeny, who is like composing all the music. And I remember like after we released our first EP, Sputnik, we just wrote to the guys from Orphan Land and just to say thank you for the inspiration and blah blah blah. And Yossi replied, and actually we wrote them that we would like to send them CDs, just simply like as a gift. And he gave us his address and we sent him the CD. He liked it. And he just said, you know, maybe out of politeness, but he just said that he will be glad to record something with us one day. And then Yevgeny wrote like a perfect song because Yossi plays this instrument that is called buzukitar.
Yeah.
It's like, it has...
The Greek one.
Well, buzuki is a Greek, you know, and guitar is like his instrument that is like a mixture of an electric guitar and buzuki. So he invented like this instrument. And then we just had like Petrichor was the song that we just sent to him and said, like, this would be cool. It would be cool if you record this melody on buzuki. And he also played the electric guitar solo. And actually, that's it. So we didn't ever meet in person. Okay. And also, a very sad part for us is that when we were recording Petrichor and recording the album, he was a part of Orphan Land. But then he left just before we released this album. So, I mean, you know, marketing-wise, we didn't get the coverage that we could get if he was still a part of Orphan Land. But in any case, a couple of years after Orphan Land came to Kiev, and we played as an opening act with them, and it was a great concert. I mean, we enjoyed it a lot, and they are great musicians with great energy, and I hope that we will share the stage once again sometime.
Yeah, it's a great band. Yeah. I've seen here in Dublin a few years ago.
I saw them twice. The one time it was amazing when they opened for Blind Guardian, and the second time it was a bit less as the stage was smaller and wow.
And in Belgium, yes, in Belgium, in a festival. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm at the Netherlands twice in the Netherlands, but it's a great band with a Middle Eastern touch. That's, I think, the reason. I don't know. I sometimes think IGNEA and Middle Eastern touch.
Well,
That's-
Orphan Lands, they are considered, one of the fathers of this genre. So they were one of the first bands to actually, mix Middle Eastern melodies and metal.
Interesting. So that's where I started from then, and then I went to IGNEA. So, and then when we are talking about IGNEA, I saw you have a song, I don't speak Ukraine, so it's Korne Polumia.
Polumia.
From your latest album, Realms of Death, and it's the first time that IGNEA creates a song in their modern tongue. So I'm wondering why now and how did it feel?
We just Yevgeny had this song, and like I said, sometimes he just has this idea what this song is going to be about, and maybe he has some idea about how it should sound like in terms of vocals. And I don't know, we just felt that this song should be in Ukrainian, so there was nothing on purpose. We just did it. And also his idea was to use a lot of archaic Ukrainian words. So if you listen to, like, if our fellow Ukrainians listen to this song, there are a lot of words that we don't use in our everyday life anymore, and that makes it maybe a little bit more folkish, but not in terms of music, but in terms of like the lyrics and everything. And it felt really good. It felt weird, singing and especially growling in Ukrainian, because to be honest, like, I'm not a fan of Ukrainian language when it comes to metal. I don't know why. And Yevgeny as well, we just don't hear Ukrainian correlating with metal. But it's like, it's individual perception of every person. But for this song, it was like 100% we're doing it in Ukrainian, and we're, to our surprise, like, we had a great feedback about this song, and we are actually even a little bit sad that we didn't make a music video for this song, because it's one of the top songs on the album in terms of listens. And we also have like this English version of this song. It is like a bonus track.
Mm-hmm.
Also very interesting that some people, they think that these are two different songs. I don't know how, but I don't know, maybe they forget when they're streaming the album from the second song to the last song, maybe they forget it. But yes, mostly people love the Ukrainian version of this song, and I'm really excited about it. And I also can say that it was easier to sing it, like in terms of, hitting the notes and everything, because Ukrainian language has very open vowels. So, I mean, we have this ah and o, and in English language, you have like this so I don't know, the word purpose, it's harder to sing it in any case than, to say Chorne Polumia and something like that. So it's easier. Maybe that's why the voice, it really sounds a bit different on this song. So I can hear it as well.
To be honest, like now you're mentioning, I don't know if I have the bonus CD, but I never thought there would be like an English version. But for me, the Ukrainian was like, it really stood out of the whole album. And I think I was drawn to this. It was fresh and so on. So I loved the Ukraine song. But problem is only that my devices make like question marks when these songs come up. Mm-hmm. So it's the question mark song for me. For some
I don't
reason.
know. Well,
yeah, it just can't read any Ukrainian language. Apparently, my devices. So I'm wondering, will there be any other Ukrainian? Will you sing in Ukrainian for the next album, or maybe in the future?
I guess that again, we won't be doing it on purpose, but because of like all this great feedback that we got, and because I really enjoyed writing lyrics and singing in Ukrainian, I'm more than sure that we're going to have some other songs in Ukrainian, but English is going to be still our main language because it's even easier for me to, write lyrics in English as well.
Yeah, and then every song will be question marks. Oh.
Yes. Well, I guess that it really depends on the device because I guess that some people sent us the screenshots and everything was all right. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. So what is the meaning of this song?
Чорне полум'я.
Maybe
it is translated like black flame.
Oh, okay.
I put the Ukrainian.
So it's your tattoo, Helle.
Yeah. So
yes.
Here.
I have the question, yes, about. Let's do this question. Yeah. So I think you have this black flame. So is there any meaning of this tattoo? And you have many tattoos, as I can see. So
not that many. I want more. So actually, this song is quite old. Well, it's like 2 years old or 3 years old right now, and we were, as well as Queen dies, and they are also going together because it is one story. They're combined in one story, and we were playing it live for 2 years so far, I guess. So I remember when we had like this Чорне полум'я and Black Flame idea of the song, and we wrote this song, we actually wanted to make an album called Black Flame.
Okay.
Yes, and we even came up with the idea like of the album cover and this song. I don't know. I was really captivated by the song, and it has a very deep meaning for me because like this song is about like truth and like the main idea is that everything fake should be burned by the black flame. Like if you read the lyrics to the English version, like which is Black Flame, it's basically the translation of Чорне полум'я, so you can understand everything that this Ukrainian song is about. So, and back then I really made this tattoo, which is actually related like to the song and to the meaning of this song. And but then before we managed to even start recording the album, there was another metal band. I don't remember its name, but it plays something metalcore, I believe. And they released an album called Black Flame. And they even had a very similar artwork that we were supposed to make.
Okay.
And for me, it was like I was crushed because, okay, can you imagine? Like I already have a tattoo.
Yes.
And all the things, and for me it was like damn it. But then I don't know, everything ended up very well because right now I think that like the concept that we came up and the title that we did in the end is really more meaningful, more grown up, and more interesting than simply a black flame. So Black Flame is great as a part of the entire story, but not as it is like on its own.
Okay. How many tattoos you have?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
So not that much. So
It's good. And how many years you did?
not so many. Well, my first one was I guess 8 years ago, something like that. But I never rush with my tattoos. So I always take some time to see if I really want to do it, because again, it's forever. And I already have like a tattoo artist that I'm collaborating with, like that I'm doing tattoos with, because she's like, we're on the same wave and she does great art. But, before her, I was always taking some time to understand whether I really want like this tattoo, whether this tattoo artist is really suitable. So it's not like, some people just say, okay, I have this idea and I'm going. I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
So that's why I have a lot of ideas of what I would like to do, but I need to think everything through. And also, I guess that I'm doing like 1 tattoo a year or something like that.
Okay.
So maybe at the end of this year.
one more.
Yeah.
Good.
And in 20 years, 20 plus, so 26 tattoos.
We'll see. We'll see. Like one of the tattoos that I have is like here on my ear, and it's very small, and it's like just instead of piercing. So, but it's also a tattoo. It's a very small one.
It was painful?
Yes, but it was actually my first tattoo, and it's maybe the most meaningless that I have. And I don't know. Again, it was like back then it was one of my friends who just came to my place and he did it, and that's it.
Oh.
I guess that every tattoo is painful to some extent, but I really love the process.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think that we should suffer through our tattoos, because otherwise I don't understand people who, you know, I don't know how to say it, but they have some injections to make it less painful. Painkillers, they use painkillers, and I'm like, I don't know, it's a strange thing to do. If you do
When you have a tattoo, you have a tattoo, you know, you have to feel the pain.
Yeah, but it
No
depends.
pain or gain. So,
Yeah, it really depends on the place where you're doing it, because I have one on my back, and it was the most painful that I had, because it's very close to the spine and everything.
Oh.
So
here was very painful for me. Here is very painful.
yeah, I guess that here, like also for me, it's very, you know, sensitive skin for everybody. So it was also not the best place to do it.
Let's move to a
when you are going to have a tattoo?
no, it's like it hurts. I don't want it. Like, no, I don't want needles. So let's go to a happier topic for me. About IGNEA, back to IGNEA. So you came up with a book. I don't have the book, so I'm wondering if you could show or describe the book and how you put it together.
So this book, just one moment.
So a quick cooling break for people,
yes,
or not?
cooling break.
So this is actually this book, and it has a lot of illustrations made by the same artist that did all the art and designs for our album, like all the merch and everything. So I mean, it's like, I guess it's even more interesting because like of all the pictures that it has. I mean, you know, it's illustrated like a very old medieval book. And actually she also used like the font that we use for the current logo. It's like actually the font of a book that was like in 17th century or something like that. So it's a very authentic font. And this book, it's really a book of very short tales, but it also, every tale incorporates the lyrics to each song. So I guess that it's something like a mixture of an extended lyric book, I'd say, something like that. So there is prose, there is also lyrics to this, to every song. And like I said, like this book is also available on Patreon, because I also understand that not everybody is able, you know, to purchase it in print. So if you join even at the smallest tier, which is like $2, you will get a digital version and also an audio version, well, where I read these tales.
Oh, amazing.
Yes.
You can listen to Helle then. Story. And then if we zoom into the book and so on, I'm wondering, I think the experience was a little bit different than writing a normal album, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes, and I really loved it a lot, because I love good storytelling. I don't know if this storytelling is good, but I love I love when music has some stories to tell. So even if it's not a concept album, but when the song has a story behind it, if it can be a fiction story, it can be a story from real life, like everything. But I just love digging into it, and that's why I also, for me, it is always very simple to write lyrics. So rhymes, I'm very good at rhymes, like from my very childhood. And it's harder for me to write prose. And this is actually the first prose that I ever wrote. And it was harder, but it was really interesting for me. And I think that I even have now even more respect for all the authors of books, especially novels where they have all these characters and they have to build them and everything is so complicated. So in my case, it was these are more fairy tales than proper prose. But I listened to some podcasts and I watched some videos on writing books because it's like in another world. So for me, as I said, I can write a poem in 10 minutes, but I cannot write a tale.
Like you need, I think if you look at writing in general, you need to flesh out characters and so on. But if you are writing, you need to stick to what you wrote previously. Otherwise, it will be like a mess. It needs to be like one piece.
Yeah. So for me also, I've been writing always, and before I quit like all my freelance stuff, I was also writing for my job. But those were like not fiction, but I was working with IT content creation, and it's like more articles, maybe some more technical stuff. Yeah, so it's maybe website text, CEO text. It's an absolutely different world because there it's more delivering information and having people understand what is happening. And here you have to really grab the attention of the reader and you have to make him go into this world and get carried away to this world. So it's a very complicated thing to do. But at the same time, I don't know, I enjoyed it a lot. I cannot say if I do it again. I don't know.
I would say do it. It's amazing. It's something unique. I think IGNEA is the first band that captures like storytelling and having like a book with a story. I couldn't name it.
No, we're not the first one. Actually, when I was writing it, after I already wrote all these tales, one of my patrons suggested listening to Cellar Darling. They are from Switzerland, and they also made a book. So we are absolutely not the first band to do it. And
well, in my library then, what I listen like. Yeah. Maybe Lacuna Coil, but that's a different story. But like, I mean, like if I scroll to all 200 bands I'm listening and so on, no one has written a book. So, yeah. But it's like nice and quite unique. You don't see it often.
Yeah, for sure. So you spoke here about the artwork. So how is important for you the artwork? And who is the guy who did the artwork for the albums? They did the same person or different?
So I can say that the latest album was the first album when we were satisfied with all the designs and all the artworks. And everything was did by one person. It is an artist from Ukraine, a girl called Maria. And she also made all our videos for this album. So Queen Dies, Disenchantment, Jinnslammer, and also lyric videos for How I Hate the Night and Shaitan Akbar.
So
These are all, yeah, so she is an animator and a designer. So she does everything. And that's why also like the artwork for the album and all the merch and everything looks so organic and unique and is under one concept, which is I'm very grateful for. Because before we didn't actually collaborate properly with anyone, and all the covers that were before, maybe except for Sputnik, that was also made by another Ukrainian artist, but then he moved to England and he started working, you know, with huge productions. He's now a graphic designer and he's working like, you know, with Hollywood movies, so he's unreachable right now. Yeah, so but like the covers that we had before, we actually just purchased them online, so they were finished covers. We just thought that okay, they were suitable and that's it. And I can say that for a band it is very important to find your team and to find everyone who is going to contribute, you know, to the visual component of the band. And I'm really grateful that we found Maria finally. Another problem is that, like, you know, she cannot do everything now because she also has other bands, other clients, and I don't know, it's hard to book her. So I guess that we should be doing it already for everything that's coming up. But yes, so she did it. She did everything. And I guess that like the visuals for this album, even sometimes I just take our CD, I take the book and I just, you know, I'm trying to go into details of every picture because there are so many, it's like, you know, it's art.
Yeah, but it looks like neat fitting and professional. And as we are talking about Maria, if I'm not mistaken, Ivan is also
cooling break.
All right, I will ask the question. You can rewatch it later. So back to my question. So Ivan is, I think, also joining with the video shoots. And I was wondering, can you tell us more how collaboration started for Disenchantment and Jinnslammer?
So Ivan is actually the boyfriend and the partner of Maria. So they are working together, and he's the camera guy, and he's very good at, you know, maybe more technical stuff and filming, like the filming process. And then she is the creative mastermind, but they are like, you know, they are working together, and sometimes it's very hard to tell who is doing what. But she's doing all the animation and all the like designs and all the things. But usually, I don't know, we just have the song, and then we say that we have like this idea, or maybe that we want to film this video this way, and then usually they come back to us with absolutely other stuff. Then we film something, and half of what we filmed so far with them, it was only just black background or white background. Then they take everything to where they live, and then for half a year we don't see anything. Usually it happens like that. And then they just deliver us the video, and it's absolutely nothing that we were expecting. It's always like that. But we always love what they do. And that's why it's a perfect collaboration, because they understand our music, but they never present it in a direct way, so to say. So even when we had like this song Shaitan Akbar, which is a song against terrorism, and I asked Maria to do a lyric video, my only my only wish was not to make it, you know, not to picture terrorists or guns, because it would be very straightforward and very, you know, I don't think that we need more guns and terrorists visually in our lives.
We have enough.
Yes, and she made like, for me it is a perfect lyric video, because and also like for me I found another meaning in this video, because she did it in the style of Salvador Dali and Picasso, like it's more surrealistic.
Yeah.
And I think that terrorism is surrealistic. I mean, I cannot understand why it is still happening in our world. So that's why I love this lyric video a lot. And what I can say, like, you never know what to expect from her, never. But this is the greatest part for us as well.
it's like magic. You are like a child opening the box and looking what's inside.
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. But the song Saitana Akbar, that was the first one. Well, and You're So in 2008, but that's the first song I heard about IGNEA. And indeed, it was so surrealistic. But I think the video helps with your music and so on to bring it like. How did the videos help you to bring IGNEA to life? Well, you mentioned Saitana Akbar, but do you have anything else to add?
Well, our video Olga, which is like with this symphonic orchestra, is still our most popular video, and it brought us so many listeners. Like, I guess that the fan base that we have, it's like 80% based on this video. Yeah, so, and strangely enough, we didn't even want to make this video to happen because we didn't know anything about filming videos, and I can see it very clearly in this video. That's why none of us loves it, because we see all the mistakes that we did back then, and we are really, you know, we don't love this video, but it still works for us a lot. And again, having a background in marketing, I can say that nowadays visual stuff is super important for every band, and we are still searching for this visual part of IGNEA. And maybe only with the latest videos we started finding, you know, something that represents our music, but still there is a lot to improve and a lot of space to grow.
Yeah, but like, well, bad or good, like Olga gained like 5 million. And
yeah, it's almost 6 million right now, and I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, they're still growing there.
It's very strange, but okay.
Yeah. So tell us about video shoots. So I'm wondering, do you plan another video shoot? Because I read somewhere on your page or on IGNEA there was a planned video session.
Yeah, and well, it's like this information is for patrons only so far. I cannot disclose it right now. I just can say that it's going to be filmed. If everything is all right, it's going to be filmed in September. So, and everything, like a lot of production, like preparations are in process. So I cannot really say until we figure everything out until the end. But I mean, we didn't plan to shoot anything, but again, we're stuck in this pandemic and we should be touring right now, and we should have been touring in summer and in autumn. And our plan was to actually record some live footages and then make them, you know, a couple of other videos for IGNEA, but it didn't happen. And we really cannot afford ourselves to keep silence because, like,
yeah,
the market is really oversaturated, and if we keep silence after the release of our album, then everybody will forget about us. That's why, like, we're trying to do something else while we're stuck at home.
So it will be The Realms of Fire. That will be from that album, right?
Yes. So those won't be new songs, but we are already working on new songs. I don't know when they are going to be out.
So if anyone is curious, join Patreon and you'll find the answer there.
Yeah, it's just, you know, patrons are always the first to find out about everything, and they are also the most understanding people because, like, they are the closest listeners. And sometimes we share our plans, but sometimes our plans are not, you know, are not coming to life. And if we share them publicly everywhere and then they don't happen, then, you know, it's like that we're not keeping our word, but sometimes things are not dependable on us, you know, just like this pandemic is.
So as you mentioned, Helle, about the Alga, what is the meaning of Alga?
It means forward or off we go. So it's like a battle cry, something like that.
So I don't know if I told you before this, when I heard this the first time, Alga, my mind went directly to Spider-Man thing.
Why? Ah, really? I don't know why, but
Because the first thing, you know, the intro with the symphonic.
Mhm.
Yes, when my mind went there, would be very easily like a theme of Marvel movie.
It's one of my dreams that maybe someday part of our music is going to be in some movies, because a lot of people are saying that, there are some parts of our songs that are very soundtrack like,
Yeah.
and I agree. And we also have like, some music that doesn't have growls, which is actually usually not suitable for, movies or something like that. So I hope that
But
maybe.
this symphonic part was really, check if you want later, the theme of Spider-Man.
Okay, I will check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, was very good. It was very good. So as we talk about the Marvel, you follow Marvel movies? You like have
Yeah,
any?
sometimes I'm not a nerd when it comes to all these, superheroes, but I'm very open-minded and I watch it like, for
You
fun.
don't have any superhero favorite?
Sorry?
Any superhero favorite?
Favorite?
Yeah.
Iron Man. Because he's closer, to being a human than anyone else.
Okay.
So I don't like too much, fiction. So he's great. But again, like I don't have like superheroes that I don't like or something like that, because I have a lot of, geeky friends who are always fighting like Marvel, DC, no, like blah blah blah, and I'm like, chill out, guys, everything is alright.
Stuff. So, Agge?
Oh, here we are. Oh, okay, I'm back. Hey, um, so IGNEA is the first band. Well, it's the first band we heard about from Ukraine. So can you ask more about the metal scene there?
Well, it's a complicated thing because in Ukraine, metal is totally underground, I'd say. And we have a lot of good bands, metal bands, but most of them, they don't go out of the underground because it's not really supported by the crowds here in Ukraine. And how to say, I guess that only a few years ago there were like more Ukrainian bands started touring Europe and maybe getting known outside. And but like Ukraine has a lot of good artists. They're just not in the metal genre. And like I said, I'm really open-minded and I don't listen to metal only. And we really have a lot of great, for example, electronic pop artists like Onuka and Hard Keys, and I mean there are a lot of them, and they have such a great level, like of writing music. Of they have huge production, and it's fascinating to see their shows. So I mean, it's just I also found out that, for example, there are not so many metal bands coming from Spain, for example, well-known bands. Well, I mean, really, there are a lot of metalheads out there. We played Spain a couple of times. It was wonderful, and the crowd is wonderful. But I really don't know any, like a lot of well-known bands from Spain.
No idea.
You see, so I mean, it's not very like for us. I guess that 95% of people listening to us, they are not based in Ukraine. So, but we don't see any problem with that. And actually, the last time we performed in Ukraine, it was last year at one of the festivals. And the last time we performed in the capital of Ukraine, like in our own town, was 2017.
Amazing. And
Well,
was it packed then?
sorry?
Or
Sorry?
was it Was it packed? A lot of people when you played in Ukraine?
We were playing like it was a lineup of different bands, so it was really packed and it was great. And I know that people are asking us all the time, like when you're going to play in Ukraine, but we were supposed to do it this year, but because of the virus, I just I don't think that it's a good idea to plan anything right now, even though there are some shows happening in Ukraine, but they are mostly open air and these are distance shows. But the problem is, for example, over the past few weeks, we had a lot more cases of this COVID showing up. And that's why there is a very high possibility that these shows, even open airs, will be closed in a week. That's why I don't see any reason of planning some shows right now.
Yeah, like you mentioned, it's better to go for something that you can deliver, like video shoot or something like that.
Yes. And it's like also you have to understand, like whenever you're making a concert, there are a lot of people involved, and it's not only the band, it's also like maybe sound engineer. I mean, when you're doing it in your own country, you want to make it with more production because you don't have to carry it with you on tour. You want to do it, you want to build everything. And when a lot of people are dependable on the pandemic, I mean, I don't think that we're going to plan anything right now. We'll wait.
For this year, I think.
I guess so, yes. That's why, like, I thought that it's better to concentrate on some other things. That's why I've been thinking of, like, shooting other videos with IGNEA. We are already working on some new songs. I don't know, maybe we will release them as singles next year. So we'll see. I also started a YouTube channel. So everything that you can do sitting at home, I'm doing right now.
It's good to keep you keep you happy, motivated, take all the rest of the COVID. Good stuff.
Absolutely.
So, as you mentioned before, your fan base, you have a big fan base in Australia.
I cannot say that it's big in Australia, but for some reason over the past half a year, it was growing all the time, and I'm very glad about that.
Where else? Do you know where else you have the most fans?
Well, again, because I'm a marketing girl, I always look at the numbers and all the stats, and I always track them. I guess 40% is based in the United States, but it's very common for a lot of bands from Europe. Then if we take Europe, then the top countries are Germany and Finland. Then it's the United Kingdom. Then on the same level, it's like Netherlands, France, Belgium, Austria, Switzerland. So all these So it's mostly like this. Out of the South, Portugal. So, I mean, we have listeners all over the world, and I even have like I have a map, a huge map on my wall. You could see it yesterday on the test. And I have like pinned countries and places where we send our merch. And it's really the whole world, because we also have New Zealand and South Korea and Japan, and like everything is covered. But again, like United States and Europe are the top regions.
Nice.
Interesting. So when we talk about countries and so on, I know
Again. I think, where are you at?
Well, I was there. So you support, as we are talking about countries and so on, you were also in the Netherlands, and I was there. So you supported Cobra and Lotus plus Butter Babies. So I'm wondering, how did you end up with this tour, and how did it felt to open for these two big bands?
We have a booking agency, just like maybe any touring band has. And they were organizing this tour, and this is how we ended up supporting this band. And it was our biggest tour so far, and I guess that we were very nervous before this tour, but since the very first day, like these big bands, they are very kind people, and they don't have like this, attitude of looking from the top down below. I mean, they are very friendly, and they treated us as equals, which is very, like, we were surprised, and we were very, we appreciated it a lot. And I guess that this touring party was working perfectly. I mean, with all the bands, with all the supports, we had 5 bands, which is a lot. And you need to have like, constant cooperation, because you don't want any delays. You don't want like any problems. There is a lot of gear, a lot of merch. And also like this was the female fronted tour. That's why, sometimes like we could imagine all the problems happening between girls, but it was a perfect tour, and we were really crying when we were splitting and going back home. And I really hope that we will share the stage with Cobra and the Lotus and Butcher Babies and other supporting acts as well. And what can I say else? It was a very a great experience of learning from bigger bands, because when you are watching them, playing a show, it's not the same when you're watching them preparing for the show, just watching them, doing their warm-ups, or maybe, I was watching every show of Cobra and the Lotus and Butcher Babies on tour, and there were like 16 or 17 dates. And I was just learning. I was learning everything that they were doing on stage, because sometimes I noticed that, for example, some of them, they even had certain breaks when they were drinking some water, So it's like, it's another level, absolutely. And I learned a lot from them, and from their stage performances, from our backstage talks, like from everything. And I'm really grateful that they were so open-minded to share everything with us.
It's learning from the best, like, two amazing headliners. I would look forward. That would be an amazing gig here in Dublin again. Like, but I would say 5 bands is too much. I was so wrecked. And then there was a difference in styles, like, what I was amazed that there was a black metal band like in your midst, and I was like,
but the idea of this tour, it happens every year actually with different lineup, and the idea is simply female fronted metal bands, so it doesn't matter which genre they have. And also this black metal act, Martyrium, they were only for half of the tour. Another half of the tour was a symphonic metal band, Asphodelia, from Italy. So, and also like the tour that happened last year, we were not part of this tour, but it was, I guess they didn't even have any growls among these bands. So it's different, like from tour to tour.
Yeah, it was like females, I remember, and then everyone on the stage and so on. But I mean, like, black metal is always like a little bit a kind of different stories if you compare to all music.
Not for me, it's okay. I listen to a lot of, well, I'm in Satyricon t-shirt right now.
Okay, nice.
So with black metal then, if we are going, now I'm curious, are you listening then?
A lot of, I love simply mixes of instrumental atmospheric black metal in the background when I'm working. For me, it's like the perfect background. And usually I even don't go for certain bands. I just, hit the mix and I'm just listening to it. But I don't like raw black metal when, absolutely lo-fi, but also it depends on the mood. But I love when black metal is mixed with something else. And I love Satyricon, obviously. I love one of the newest bands, which is Mirkur. It is a Danish, well, but she mixes a lot of things as well. And I know that a lot of black metal heads, they don't think that it is black metal, so I'm not saying anything. It's going to be a war here.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, I listen to a lot of things, but for me, really, I'm very bad at remembering the names of the bands and the albums and the band members. I'm like the worst at it. So, I mean, I just have like my playlists, and I always like, I'm open for everything that Spotify is bringing up. So something like that. But again, like, I really love all the maybe some atmospheric black, symphonic black, post black, so more modern black metal approach than raw black metal that was like the first wave, you know, when it's like only you cannot understand anything that is happening there.
Very interesting list. For me, it's like, well, that's the only genre I just run away. I'm gone. Reason, like for 10 years, like I'm listening all my life like metal, but black metal is the only thing like I really never got into.
Yeah, depends. But I don't know, Helle, if you know, I would like to recommend you. I think you know, Rotting Christ.
Yeah, of course, they actually played in Kiev also.
Yeah, they play
a lot of times. Yes.
A lot of time in Rossi, yeah. So this is a band that you can listen because they mix stuff and languages also.
Yeah. So they are not pure black metal again.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Or Septic Flesh.
Septic Flesh is one of my favorite bands, and they were playing. It was actually the last show that I saw before pandemic in Kiev. They came to Kiev. They did a great show, and yeah, Septic Flesh is also actually one of the inspirations for IGNEA as well. But maybe their symphonic parts, their epic music, they are doing a great thing.
Nice to know. And today received the, I don't know, you know, they did a concert in Mexico with symphonic orchestra.
Yeah.
They received the DVD, so.
Yeah, I know.
So, because we speak about festivals and stuff, what will be your dream festival and which 4 bands would you take, you know, for 4 days with you?
Do you mean where we would like to play, or?
Yeah, dream festival for you, like where you would like to play, and Hellfest, and which, like, let's say it's 4 days, which headliners you would pick?
You mean we as headliners?
Yeah, no. Which headliners you would pick to play in Hellfest with you?
Well, Hellfest is a little bit complicated because it's really a huge festival. I've been there, and it's like, it's a Disneyland for metalheads. And I mean, they have very different stages, and I mean, the size of the stages is also very different, and I don't see IGNEA playing main stages. There are 2 main stages. It's like I guess that we are not ready for these stages, because also you need to have a huge production crew to make these stages work for you. But there are a couple of stages, I guess they called Altar and Temple, and I would love to play there. As for the headliners, I would say maybe Septic Flesh, Amorphis, maybe Lacuna Coil, but they would be on the main stage as already, you know. So it's a complicated question, and also Hellfest mixes a lot of bands and a lot of genres. So it's hard to tell. But I mean, Hellfest, it's my goal, it's my dream, and I know that it's not the biggest festival, you know, because a lot of metalheads, they are dreaming about Wacken, Germany, but for me, Hellfest is like my top dream.
And 70,000.
And I would love to share stage with Gojira.
Oh.
But I mean, again, we saw them at Hellfest, and they were on the main stage. And it was very interesting because Gajira is a French band, and when they were playing on Hellfest, everybody came to this stage, like everybody. And the Hellfest is in France. And I also remember people that are working at the festival. I mean, they sell you some drinks and merch. They left all their working places and they came to watch Gajira because, like, it's
from there, you know.
it's an insanely great band. Although what's really interesting, they don't have a lot of production going on stage. They don't wear any massive outfits or something like that. They're just pure music and energy, and it's really cool.
Yeah, it's like a big band. Like when I moved to Ireland, I heard Gojira. Gojira, it's like a popular band even here.
It's everywhere. I mean, right now they are already world known, and they moved to the United States, I guess. So they are already on an absolutely different level, and I'm very happy for them because they are deserving it.
Interesting. So back to IGNEA. So you have toured in many countries. So I'm wondering which is your favorite one, and which country would you like to add?
Well, usually it doesn't depend on the country, but it depends on the venue and on the club. But I can say that statistically, the best shows are in Germany. Because there are a lot of metalheads out there. They're very supportive, but at the same time, when you are playing for them, usually they are very calm. I mean, they're always like standing and listening. So I mean, they are not very expressive compared to people from Spain, for example, you know, because in Spain they are very the hospitality is above the level. They are very, you know, they're moshing, they're slamming and all the things. Germany, you just know that everything is going to be all right with everything, and that you just have stability in Germany. France is awesome in terms of playing as well, because the hospitality is good as well. When you are traveling through France, it's very beautiful, and there are also a lot of metalheads there, and maybe also that's why Hellfest is such a huge festival. And for me, it was a surprise. Netherlands, we played there a couple of times. It was one of the best shows, but it's like it was only a couple of times, and they were almost always sold out. What else can I say? Switzerland is very strange because we played there a couple of times, and one show it was absolutely packed and people were moshing and everything, and another show with the same lineup, it was like people were just standing and they were chilling, and you know, like people were from absolutely different countries, although they were in like from another country. So yeah, something like that. And Denmark has the best backstages.
Why?
I don't know why, but we played there a couple of times, and even if you are a small band, you are feeling yourself a rock star, because they are making all the conditions for you at the backstage to make you comfortable. And they always have this, you know, huge approach. I mean, they even put you some candles, like to make you comfortable.
Really nice.
And what's the
And you know, like I said, Germany is great in terms of shows, but sometimes their venues are absolutely undergroundish, and sometimes, you know, you are just walking to the stage and your shoes are sticking to the floor because of all the beer that was before that. But it's not a bad thing. It's just like it is. They have a more punk approach, I'd say, and it's not a bad thing. It's just, you know, another thing.
And what was your opinion of the Dutch?
Is it way again?
Yes. Yeah, because it's from Netherlands. So.
Yes.
I'm back. So
yeah, it was one of the greatest shows as well, and the crowds were great. And I know that we have a lot of listeners from the Netherlands. I mean, we ship quite a lot of merch there, so I don't know. I love the Netherlands. I love it as a country, and I love people from the Netherlands. We also have many patrons from the Netherlands, so
I can imagine, because it's a small country, but with a lot of people, with a lot of venues for opportunities.
yeah.
And so, what country would you like to add in the future?
United Kingdom for sure, because we were trying to reach this country for a very long time, and it is one of the top markets for us in terms of listeners. But it's so complicated, like with all these visas and crossing borders, even before the pandemic, and now I even don't know.
More difficult.
Yes, but I'd love to play there. And what else? Actually, in the north, we were only playing in Denmark, but I'd love to play Finland. And we actually have 2 shows planned for December in Finland. These are our headliner shows. I don't know if they're going to happen. Most likely they will be postponed, because I don't believe that the borders will be open until then. But it's actually like December 16th. Who knows?
Okay.
We don't know. But even if they don't happen this year, they will be postponed. I also want to play Sweden, Norway. So maybe the countries of the Baltic, like we played Lithuania once, but I'd like to play Estonia as well. So
A lot of countries.
because like in the Central Europe and in the South, we already played all the countries. But I'd love to come back again.
You have any fan base from Greece?
I don't think that it's a big one, but maybe because we didn't.
Maybe from today you will have some.
Okay.
We have a lot of Greece here.
We have Greeks.
Awesome.
And what about Dublin?
We have some listeners from Ireland. Yeah, so I mean,
Awesome.
you know, if we come to the United Kingdom, I'm sure we'll do something in Ireland as well, because we will be closer, you know,
Yes.
to Ireland. So
Yeah, that would be amazing.
we would love to play there.
Only if you tour to United Kingdom, yeah.
It makes.
Come to Ireland or Scotland.
Or do a tour in Ireland, like Cork, Dublin, like see what
I'm
Ireland is.
ready for everything, but it's really complicated, because the scene of the touring in the United Kingdom and Ireland is one of the most complicated things to do. Not only in terms of visas, but also in terms of conditions for the bands. It's an absolutely, even though we seem to be in Europe, we all seem to be in Europe, but it's working differently there.
Yeah, I can imagine that's the reason, like a lot of bands like skip Dublin.
Yeah, so I don't know, but I'd love to.
That would be nice, yeah, to see you here.
Yeah.
Like.
Really nice.
So, Helle, which song, because we did some covers, as we mentioned before, which cover you would like to do and you didn't yet? And you did the cover like from a band Ultra Serif?
You mean with IGNEA?
Yeah.
I don't know, because every time we come up with these covers, just we hear the song and we think we will cover it. So we don't plan to do any covers necessarily. I don't think, but we have some kind of a rule for our covers. We don't cover metal bands, and we don't cover like metal bands with female vocals, because it's almost impossible to make a different version of the song. So and it's not that interesting. So I mean, all the people who are asking us to cover Lacuna Coil, Arch Enemy, Within Temptation, it's not going to happen. Yeah, I do sometimes. I cover, like, again for Patreon, I do some acoustic versions of female-fronted metal bands, but it's more an entertainment and for fun for me and for patrons. But as an official release, we won't be doing it.
Yeah, so you want to make non-metal bands?
Yes, yes, because it's very interesting to transform non-metal into
Yes.
metal, and there is a lot more space for your imagination to do it. And you actually create sometimes an absolutely different song.
Great. Great.
Right. So now to something else. Well, IGNEA, you are using a lot of social media. So I'm wondering, how do you think that the way fans communicate with bands has changed over the years, and what the future may hold?
Well, I can say that we started already in the times when social media were a super important thing to do. So I know the days back then when people were buying magazines and they were buying, they were learning about the bands from the record stores because I was learning about the bands the same way. But when we started IGNEA, we already had all this. We already didn't get into the era of MySpace. So for us, didn't work. We already started with YouTube and Facebook and everything. Then Instagram became more popular. So I do it a lot. And I guess that this is one of the keys to the success, like of the growth of our bands. So we wouldn't be able to grow and to gain so many listeners without social media. And I also started a YouTube channel about like promoting DIY bands and speaking about like everything that bands, unsigned bands do. And with other bands, we talk about social media, what they are using. And I mean, everybody says the same, that if you're not on social media, if you're not active there right now, you're not existing as a band. Of course, I'm not speaking about well-known bands that have been playing for 20 years. For them, it doesn't matter. But for all the young bands, I mean, if you're not using social media, you're just losing a lot of new listeners that could listen to your music, that could discover you. And also, I know bands that say that they don't want to do it, that it takes a lot of time, and I agree. And I also think that not all the bands should do it themselves, but they can find some people that can help them to produce all this content. There are a lot of social media workers right now and specialists. It's not a problem nowadays. And I know also sometimes, almost always band members, they have their loved ones that can help them to do it.
I think it's the mindset that needs to be changed, or it's like hard if you are doing like for many years without social media and suddenly it comes up, it's like something new.
I don't know, but because there are a lot of bands who are 20 years, 25 years right now. I mean, the band members are 20 years old, so obviously they've been always with social media. But it's super hard to produce this content all the time, and you have to be very continuous with that. And it's very easy when you are touring or when you're releasing something, and you have everything to post every day. So sometimes I make content plans for 1 month and everything is all right, but when nothing is happening, it's the worst part, because you already posted all the photos, all the videos, all the music, you did all the polls, and you're stuck. And this is the hardest part. So that's why what I'm trying to do right now is to think ahead of time. And actually, I know that big labels and big bands, they have plans outlined for a couple of years ahead of them, because they know where they're going to play, what they're going to release, and all the things. And even if you are an unsigned band, you can do it as well. Just sit down and write the strategy, because once you start treating your band as a business, it will change for you. And I always say that there is no problem with staying authentic and playing the music that you like, not make your music commercial, but you won't survive as a band if you don't make money as a band. And I don't mean like making profit out of it. At least you have to make enough money to invest in this band and at least to record your music. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Fair point.
Yeah, social media these days are very important for the bands. Yeah.
Yes.
Like 8 hours work or more work. And you need someone to help. So, as you mentioned before, non-metal bands, do you have any favorites?
Non-metal bands?
Yeah, non-metal bands, like, yeah.
My taste is always changing, and music depends always on my mood. So sometimes I can listen to electronic bands, I can listen to pop singers, but there are some bands. For example, I love Chelsea Wolfe a lot. She doesn't play metal, so it's like more, I don't know, maybe rock, but it's hard to define her genre, but it's not metal for sure. I love Radiohead.
Okay.
I love Lady Gaga. I love her a lot. Not the latest album, but I love her. Who else?
You're a fan also of Lady Gaga.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. Now I'm like very poked. So you don't like Chromatica?
No.
It's too poppy?
I don't know. It's I just don't feel this album. This album doesn't have any strengths to me. But her previous album, Joanne, it's maybe the least Lady Gaga that she ever has made. But it's such a wonderful album, and I was re-listening to it so many times. And I guess that a lot of people will love this album because it's not that pop. I mean, it's more
country.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But I also love her, like, hits like Bad Romance and all the things, because these are really awesome songs. They are awesome. And I understand why she became, and I love her as a personality. There is a documentary with her on Netflix, and I really recommend watching it. And she is great live as well. She has a wonderful voice. And I mean, the ability to dance and sing like that, it's very cool. And she's also a songwriter. So, I mean, as a personality, she appeals to me a lot. That's why, maybe a lot of people are shocked when I say that I love her, but I mean, I really do. She does great music. She is great, as a brand and everything. And she's a great personality as well.
And what about A Star is Born, where she acted as well?
I watched this movie. Well, I don't think that she is like, a great actress or something like that, but she wrote the soundtrack to the whole movie. And it's a huge job to do. And I think that, I love this movie because I love movies about musicians and, backstage stuff and all the things. That's why I loved it. But I don't think that it's, a great movie that you should watch in any case.
I recommend it. It's my favorite movie.
Well, it's good. It's really good. I mean,
and yeah, it came with a nice soundtrack. I just went out of the cinema and I just got the whole soundtrack. I was really amazed, especially Bradley Cooper singing. He never did it, so I was like, whoa.
Yeah. I watched some interviews of Lady Gaga, and she said that she was really amazed when he came to her with the idea of this movie, and when she heard him singing, she was really shocked that he had this voice. It's really cool.
So I'm giving the microphone to Nick. Bring some metal back.
Cool. So, weird things, huh?
Yes, so all our questions are done. So now we have our viewers' questions. So for the viewers who are watching, less chance to ask your questions. So we start first with a compliment from Matt Watterson, and he's saying, Helle's voice is absolutely amazing. It gives me goosebumps. Happy smiley.
Hello, Matt. He's actually one of our patrons and most active listeners, and we communicate a lot. And he's also bringing our music to the Australian listeners, which we are very grateful for.
Amazing. And then Caroline Clark, she's asking, are you vocally trained or self-taught? And she's sending hearts.
She's also our patron. And well, mostly I'm self-taught. But again, I had some vocal lessons. And I hope that I will take more vocal lessons soon as well. Because you can never stop learning. And even if you take like big vocalists right now in the metal scene, usually they do have some metal coaches, some voice coaches as well.
Caroline asked again, we spoke about the languages you speak. Which one you would like to learn after?
After Norwegian, because right now I don't know when I finish learning it. I'm only at the beginning. I don't know. Actually, I would love to learn some other language that doesn't have Latin words, Latin letters. But I still don't know which one. Maybe it can be Arabic, maybe Japanese. I don't know. It's
okay.
Like my music taste is changing, like my taste for languages changes as well. So we'll see. But maybe Japanese, because it's not only other words and letters. They think in an absolutely different way, and their words are built differently. And I guess that learning Japanese will just, make your brain think a lot more.
Yeah, I start once because they have like a wellness time in my work to learn languages, and I start once Japanese, but I left because like we have like 3 different dialects. And, it's like a mess.
Well, every country has a lot of dialects, and even Norwegian language, they have 2 official languages, 2 official Norwegian languages in their country. So, it shouldn't stop you from learning a language. At least learn something, at least one, and then it will be easier.
For me, maybe you can start to learn Irish, Gaelic.
Actually, I was thinking about that as well. About Gaelic language. Well, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think that it's not a good idea to be learning a lot of languages at once, because it will be a mess. It's already a mess in my head, because sometimes when I start speaking German, I already start inserting Norwegian words there. So it's not the best thing to do.
But if you learn like Gaelic, Irish, you can be your tour guide here, because I think none of us understand what Irish. We hear talking in Irish to people, and we will be standing and like, what's happening there? So, another question, hopefully it doesn't cut. So Hugo Prudente is asking, any plans to visit South America and here Ireland when tours are allowed to happen?
Yeah, of course. It's just, again, South America is also complicated because it's overseas. It's a bit easier than the United States, but I mean, once we have the opportunity, of course we will come there, because I heard from all the bands that the crowds there are one of the best, and people are very responsive, and I would love to. And I've never been there as a tourist as well, so.
Yeah, cool. Matt asking if you know any Australian bands, artists or bands.
Actually
You
not.
listen. No?
Actually not. And I saw this question online as well, and now I guess I have to I have to
Yes.
find out. Or maybe I know some bands, but I don't know that they are from Australia. I guess that this is most likely the situation.
You know any bands from Australia? No, you don't know, eh?
Australia?
Yeah. You know
Uh,
Parkway Drive?
Australian is AC/DC, right? And the Airborne.
Yeah.
Are they from Australia?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know some bands. Okay.
Parkway Drive? You know Parkway Drive?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you see, just like I said,
Yeah.
I am very bad at band names, band countries. It's like
Matt can teach you more because we don't know them.
yes, yes.
Caroline Clark is asking, have you seen Satirican live? They are incredible, well, in Heart Smiley and Devil Horse.
I would love to see them live. And I was supposed to, like last year, we played one Portuguese festival, Vagos, and they played there as well, but they were playing on another day. And I was very sad about it because I really wanted to see them live. But at that day, we were playing in Spain somewhere, our show. That's why it's still on my list.
They played here in Dublin a few years ago, I think. We have seen them. They were great, yeah. Very good part. And Hugo asked if you would support a black metal band. Which band would be?
A black metal band?
Yeah, if you had to support a black metal band.
I guess people wouldn't understand our music in this case, but our first tour was with a thrash metal band and a couple of death metal bands.
Okay.
And we were the lightest music in this lineup. And maybe because we mostly toured Germany and Netherlands, people were more open-minded, and every evening people came to the merch table and they said, okay, I don't normally listen to such music, but I loved what you played. So I don't think that we are going to be, in one lineup with a black metal band. It's just, it doesn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense for both of our bands.
Yeah, but we've seen some tours like, different bands from different genders. So
yeah, maybe if it is a festival, it's always working like that. It's absolutely no problem, and they can even stand one after each other. It's even great because it is attracting a lot of people together. But if these are two bands, then it doesn't make sense for them to tour together.
Yeah, like you said, Merkur, if I pronounce okay. You say it's like Merkur.
Yeah, Merkur.
Yeah, you say it's a black metal.
Well, but again, she is saying that she is not exactly doing black metal because she mixes a lot of maybe black metal rhythms, but then she has a lot of folk, like Danish folk elements, a lot of folk instruments, sometimes symphonic, she mixes a lot of things. That's why, and she also I hate this phrase, but she is also a female fronted metal band, and unfortunately this phrase and this combo, it works for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. That's why it will be working for us, of course, and I would love to tour with her because I've seen her live 3 times. Yeah. We were playing at one festival once in Lithuania.
Yeah, singing here also in Dublin. Yeah,
but we couldn't speak to her because we were on different stages and all the things, but I'm really a huge fan of her.
But I can't remember what was the support. I think it was something different. Something completely, like you said, 2 different genres.
Well, it depends.
Yeah, I'm going to check. Was with Epica.
You see, it's not that much different. I mean, maybe the genres but it's still metal and metal, melodic metal and melodic metal, female fronted, female fronted.
And Oceans of Slumber, I don't know if you know them.
Who?
Oceans of Slumber.
Yeah, actually one of the bands that I recently discovered, they are really a very unique bands, I would say. And again, they are female fronted.
Yes.
I'm just trying to explain to you how these lineups are built and why it is happening, because the main idea is to sell more tickets. This is how it works. And it's not because they are female fronted, it's just one direction and one audience.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like the same for, I don't know, like brutal death metal in the same package. It's like also the same direction.
Cool.
Nice.
So, Joa Victor Alves Martins has the following question: Do you know some band? Do you know some band black metal Brazilian?
We have a lot of black metal.
Yeah.
Again, I'm very bad at bands and countries. From Brazil, I know Nervosa from Brazil, but they are thrash metal.
Yes.
Again, I'm sure that I know, but I just don't know that they are from Brazil.
I think your fans like discovered that you are really bad with like, you know, countries and so on, and now they are testing you.
It's meaningless. I'm really bad. I admit it.
I think you need a map with bands and stick them. This band is from this, and then it's easier to answer this kind of question.
You know, the answer is very simple. I never judge anyone by the geographical location. And for me, it really doesn't matter where this band comes from. So I really listen to music. That's it.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. So we are at the end of the interview. So we want to thank all viewers who watched together, and for those who got up in the morning, and and then also for engaging for the questions, participating, and in case you missed some bits or you fell asleep, the video will be in 2 weeks' time on our YouTube channel, so you can rewatch it. So subscribe to be there. We just provided a link, and most important of all, we want to thank Helle for the interview, and we will provide also all the links where you can buy all what we showed, the store book, the album, and so on. So I'm passing the microphone to Helle.
Yeah, thank you guys very much for inviting me for this interview. It was really a cool talk. I guess it was a perfect Friday conversation. Yes, and I also thank all the people who were watching this. And I guess that there will be some more people watching, you know, over the weekend, because Fridays are for parties and concerts and going out.
Yes,
and I wish you guys success with your project, and I hope that you will have a lot more cool interviews happening in the nearest time. And I hope that we will meet in Dublin at our show someday.
Or somewhere else.
Or yes.
Yeah, when we are free.
Yeah, I would like to thank also the viewers, and of course you, Helle, for your time. We had a very great time with you. We hope to see you soon live.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, headbanging. Yes. But for now, we have the rounds of that to enjoy and listening.
Yeah.
Or the book you like.
The album and the first album.
The first? Yeah.
So yeah, that's all. So thank you for everyone for watching. See you and have a good night. Enjoy the weekend. Bye.
Bye.